CJ Peterson, and welcome to The Journey is Real, where we talk to real people with real passions who share a real portion of their hearts. Today, my guest is Brian Penso. We're talking about who you are and why. Basically, we're discussing his story behind where his passion of helping other people came from. Welcome, Brian, for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. I'm really excited about having you on today. There's a lot of portions I've read parts of your story that really excite me because the journey is real. We like to kind of dive back in and find out what that journey looked like. People who saw you now won't always have an accurate assessment of what that journey looked like to get you to that point. So would you mind sharing the journey with those who are listening?
I come from the hill country in Ohio. Was out in the country a lot and got into a bunch of trouble, a lot of drinking, drugs, got in with the wrong people. And in 1987, I decided to move away and I came to Houston, Texas because my brother was here.
Of course, but you came to God's country, Texas. I got to put that in there.
There you go. There you go. And
good.
I saw more people in one day in Houston, Texas than I saw in an entire year where I come from. So that's how far out it was. I got here in 87 and I got a job and started working and realized that was not for me. I started building companies when I was 15 and I got that taste and it was like, I can't work for somebody because when I was working, everybody was off. And when everybody was off, I was working. So I didn't really have a life. And I decided to start taking a different avenue. Mm-hmm. So the concrete business is what I knew and what I grew up with. And I grew up with an entrepreneur like my father, because that's what he did. So I got into it and I realized that I had a lot of learning to do. Mm-hmm. And where I got involved with a lot of people, successful people, attorneys, doctors, business owners, and that sort of thing. And they kind of took me under their wing because of knowing my brother, of course. Mm-hmm. And I started this journey and started to get into personal development and trying to figure out who I was, where I wanted to go. And the big thing is, how was I going to get there? Because my dream was to fish professionally. That was the other thing that brought me to Texas, watching all my idols on TV. So that was the end goal for me. And I had to stop and figure out, what is it going to take for me to get there? Mm-hmm. And I got into a lot of reading. And I hated reading with a passion. I did enough of it when I was in school.
Here, so that actually pains my heart when someone says they hate reading.
Well, it was the reading that was kind of, mandatory. You had to do it. That's a different type of reading. Now, I loved reading books about things that I liked, hunting, fishing, that sort of thing. But getting into a personal development type application where I had to read. And then I realized that there was a lot of big words in there that I didn't understand. So I had somebody teach me how to use a dictionary correctly. There's just a lot of things where I got into personal development and I struggled, but I would get a little bit of gains and then I would get knocked back down, which is life in general, but it's what you do when you get knocked down. So, I got to get back into that book and go into another one and another one. And the expansion came at a very slow pace because I didn't have any money. And I realized that the faster I would learn, the more productive I could be. So that's how my journey started in personal development, 30 years ago. And it progressed through there. I started my first company here in Houston in 1987. It's one of the largest of its type in Houston. We ship coast to coast. And then as that got going, I got it going and then I got knocked down. I had somebody that didn't pay me for some product, a bunch of stolen product. Turns out I was upside down. I lost my home. I became homeless. For about 6 years, I lived in a dirty, nasty, filthy warehouse. But it was the goal that is the one that kept me going. I mean, I didn't have enough money to feed myself or my dog. And it was pretty miserable. But the end goal was always what had kept me, getting up the next day. Today is a new day. Let's get going.
Kind of like the theory of get knocked down 7, get up 8.
Exactly. I mean, when you're flat on your back, the only thing you can see is up. There's not really much farther you go down. But,
there's nowhere else to go. You're there.
Exactly right.
Follow any further, you don't have to go too far.
Yep. So that's how my journey actually started when I was in Texas. And as I got going, I realized that there were a lot of people out there that were looking for help,
Hmm.
that wanted to progress, wanted to get better, but they really had no idea where to turn. So as I started mentoring people, um, people would come to me about business advice or how to set up an account or how to talk to people, how to get customers and that sort of thing. So I kind of got into really the enjoyment of helping other people that I knew that could not afford it.
Hmm.
And it was kind of my way of giving back because, as you well know, you can't outgive what you get.
Correct.
You
Hmm.
know, in the world, it's all based upon how we function
Hmm.
and our willingness to give, because if you're unwilling to give, then you can't receive.
Hmm.
So I figured the more I give and the more I help other people, the more that I'll be able to receive.
Right. And you receive it in so many different ways. You receive it spiritual as a spiritual uplift, kind of
Exactly.
shove up.
Exactly.
Can we jump back for a quick second when
You
you were
sure
in
can.
the warehouse? What kept you going every single day? I know you said you kind of couldn't fall any further, but for 6 years you said you lived in that environment. So what kept you going every single day?
Well, it had to do with a goal. And my goal was to fish against my idols professionally that
Mhm.
I used to watch on TV. And that's what kept me going. I mean, that's why they say goals are so important.
So
Because if you don't
that was
have
kind of
one,
like your hope in the darkness. Was that was your little candle that was in your dark room? Was, you know what, this may be dark around me, but I'm focused on this goal right here.
yep. Because in order for me to obtain that, I had to have a passive income, an
Mhm.
income that stopped even when I stopped working. I had to create a facility that would continue to go. I needed time freedom
Mhm.
and I needed money. And
Mhm.
time freedom only comes if you're self employed.
Mhm.
But being self employed is different than having a quote unquote true business where a business will function with or without you.
Mhm.
And that is part of what I had to learn and keep going. And that's what really get me, going, especially because I sat in a lot of dark places. I had no heat in my warehouse. I used to heat up my bed with a hair dryer.
I'd be more concerned about the whole AC issue in Texas, to be personal.
I did have AC. I did have AC, but I had no hot water and no heat when it was cold. So I'd heat up my bed with a hair dryer. And I had my trusty sidekick, Abby, that kept me warm too, my dog. So,
Mhm.
but that's what kept me going through some of the darkest times of my life was having the end in mind. And that's why people talk about, having a dream board or having an idea or goals. Because if you don't have a dream board or you don't have goals and you're not reaching, any little resistance, any resistance
We're
will throw you off a track. And let me tell you, excuses are easier to find than solutions.
Mhm. Exactly.
So,
Whenever there's an issue that comes up, I personally try to come up with no less than three options to try
yep.
to fix it. Because if you can come with solutions, it helps not only the people that you're working with, but it also helps yourself because then you don't feel quite so defeated.
Oh, exactly. And the other thing that it was really valuable to me is not sitting in something in darkness trying to figure out, as the statement was said to me a long time ago, you cannot figure out or solve a problem with the same level or elevation of thinking that created it.
Mhm. It's kind of
So,
like, was it Einstein or Franklin that said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result?
right, exactly.
Mhm.
And that's where masterminding come in. And I learned to do that. Like, don't get stuck.
Mhm.
Ask somebody else. And, people don't want to ask questions. They say, oh, I'm stupid. Well, no, you're not stupid. You're trying to progress because if you're not making mistakes, then you're not progressing.
Mhm.
And the mistakes can be limited or refined a little bit by associating with people that have what it is that you want, not what you have.
Mhm.
So reaching out and talking to those people is just an unbelievable slingshot ride. It really is. It definitely straightens out the road and takes out some of the bumps.
Right. And you get that extra boost sort of idea from it.
Yep, because those people are going to help you. There's always bad days.
Mhm.
And when you can talk to somebody, have a sounding board and give them, what happened today? Well, then they can kind of look at things and say, but yeah, yesterday you had this, this, and this, because I remember you telling me about it. Because it's easy to get stuck in those darker moments. It's always nice to have an organization or a group of people that are willing to just say, hey, you know what? That happened today, but tomorrow's a new day, and we're going to handle it a little bit different. We've learned something today. We're going to take measures to make sure that that doesn't come back again.
Exactly. Failure is just a way to look at something a little bit different and begin again more intelligently.
Oh, exactly. It's the education. Oh, yeah.
I'm one of those people that when there's something I'm going to tackle, I just jump in with both feet. We have the 5 acres here in Lufkin. People who have read my blog, The Journey to Fruitfulness, we're taking it from ground zero, making it a fully functioning, self-sustaining farm. This is going to be a process.
Right.
I share our joys, our successes, our epic failures, and they are there. I share our mistakes. I share everything. And then I do a spiritual application so they can kind of apply it to their life as well. When people share their ups and their downs, it doesn't just look like they went like this, because success is more kind of like this.
Oh, yes.
Or what it looks like than this.
Yep. Yeah. Even in my book, it says, it took me 14 years to become an overnight success. Mm-hmm. When people look to where I'm at right now, I mean, I've got multiple companies, haven't had a job in 25 or 30 years, pretty much do what I want to do when I want to do it. And they say, wow, you're lucky. Well, if you'd have seen what I had to do to get in this position, you wouldn't say I'm lucky. You would say I was persistent, maybe bullheaded, and something else. I don't know, because that's what it takes, but it's the end in mind. Your end right now is to have a fully functioning farm, and you'll get there. But not everybody, well, since you're sharing your experiences, that's the magic. People out there need to understand that successful people just didn't get there overnight.
Right.
That is a journey. But it's not always the goal. I mean, because once you hit a goal, it's like, well, yeah, that was cool. It's the individual that we become in the journey. That is what truly elevates us to a whole different level. Because once we hit that goal, we are now more prepared or better prepared to go to the next level. So everything that you learned in that journey, the ups and downs, the broken equipment, whatever that is preparing you for the next level.
Right. And the other thing you can look at it is I'm an author.
Right.
And I've been an author since 2012. And so I have 13 YA books / adult books out, and then I have 1 children's book out. My sister is also an author. She's been an author since 2015. We've learned a lot through these years. We've messed up. We've had some successes. Sometimes, we threw stuff against the wall to see what would stick.
Right.
That's kind of how you experiment a little bit. And what we've done in December was we started a publishing company. So now we're taking what we've learned and are helping other authors to do the same. So when you go through all of those ups and downs and crazy loopy messes,
right,
you can turn around, you can help somebody else. And that brings a lot of joy to me.
Yep. Well, I tell people this is the most valuable piece of real estate you'll ever own in your life.
Which is your mind.
It is your mind. Invest in it. Don't be afraid to do a course. Don't be afraid to pick up a book. Don't be afraid to go online and do a thinking course or a business course or a marketing course, especially if it falls in line with the avenue that you're trying to take. Because sure, you may not get it the first time, but nobody does.
And you can pick certain parts of it that, work for you, because not everything will work for everybody.
Right. It's like building a toolbox. You have a lot of tools that come in and say, well, I used this one and it didn't work. And then, okay, I picked up this one. So this one's a keeper. So I'm going to put this tool into my box. Now, this one here that didn't work, I'm going to save it because I might be able to have an application for it later on down the road. So that's how we progress, and we keep building our toolbox, as the same as you're learning with your farm. There are things that are going to work extremely well. There are things that are not going to work so well, but you can make and fine tune it, make those adjustments, and then you'll have the end result, which will be a finished product.
Right.
And it's like I said, it goes right back to, it's the journey along the way that helps us create who we are, and it helps us come up with solutions to achieve the end goal that we actually want to achieve. And that is really one of the most important parts of this entire journey that we're taking.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then also, like I said, being able to turn around and help others and kind of mentor them as they have mentored you. When I
Exactly.
started being an author, there were a couple authors who have taken me under their wing. We have an apiary, which is bees and honey. We have a mentor who has been doing it for 50 years. You know, had we not had him behind us and kind of helping and guiding us, there's no way we would even be where we are today. And so when you can take what you've learned and apply it to not only yourself, but to somebody else, and be able to give to somebody else, kind of pay it forward to those that have given to you, it just is a wonderful feeling.
Oh yeah. Knowledge is meant to be shared.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that don't want to help other people. And I don't understand that. I wrote my book and released it after many years of people asking me, hey, do you have a book? Do you have a book? And I didn't know anything about writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept asking and asking and asking. So I finally said, well, you know what? I guess it's time to write a book. And it kind of
book. What is it about, and what's it titled, and where can they find it?
The book is Who Are You and Why? The Evolution of You. My webpage is brianpenso.com, BrianPenso.com. They can actually go on there and download the first chapter for free to kind of get an idea of what they're getting themselves into. There's no sugar in it. There's no fluff.
If that's a good thing or not.
Well, I'm a boat guy. I'm a fisherman. I fish professionally all over the United States. So if I'm going to buy a boat, I'm going to take it for a drive. Mm-hmm. And I figure, during these economic times and troubling times, why not let somebody read the first chapter before they spend the 16 or 17 bucks to get it? That way they know what they're getting into. But I wrote the book so it's real A to B. It allows people to go back into their past and kind of find out how they got where they did. Mm-hmm. Was there some manipulation? Was there some bad information? Whatever the case may be. And then there's stepping stones through all 10 chapters on how to break away from the position that they're not in. Because many people on the planet today are living a life that someone else chose for them. Mm-hmm. It's not the one that they desired. And my book is all about letting them figure that out and starting to live the life of their choice, not of someone else's. It's been very powerful.
Yeah. I mean, when you figure out what your passion is, when you figure out what your goals are, it's not work. It's fun. Right. It's play. It's freedom. It allows you, like I said, I'm an author, blogger, and podcaster. To me, I can do this all day and not have an issue with it. But if I had to clock in and clock out, I promise you my ADD and my OCD would start colliding and it would get really messy really fast.
Yep, I'm sure you're in the same position. I mean, like this morning, I get a text from a guy that we traded out. He's a beekeeper, mm-hmm. and he doesn't have a lot of money, but he said, you know what? I'm going to trade you some really good honey for a copy of your book. And I said, sure, sounds like a deal. This mm-hmm. guy has called me and saying that his life has totally changed. His relationship with his wife is better. They're communicating better. Now he's drawn up plans for his farm. Mm-hmm. And, when you get those calls, there's no amount of money that you can receive. Mm-hmm. The value of changing someone's life to the point where now they're winning. Mm-hmm. That's payment right there.
I think that's awesome. I love that.
It is. I was at a lecture one time and someone spoke about, on a headstone, there's a born date and there's a die date. And neither one of those mean a thing. Mm-hmm. It's the dash. Yep. What did you do while you were here? It's part of the legacy. A lot of people don't think about that. I do. I want people to think that the world was a better place mm-hmm. with me here and what I did and my accomplishments. And not only my accomplishments, but the accomplishments that I helped other people mm-hmm. achieve. That's my big thing.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times people don't fully process and understand that fact. And when you can kind of process the fact that the dash is what makes the difference,
right?
Then that totally changes your values. Some people just go day to day to day to day to day and hope.
Yes, they do.
They're pretty much in survival mode.
Yep.
When you hit bottom, I have hit bottom. When you hit bottom and you look up and you think, okay, what does that dash look like now? Is when you start getting up and moving and you just run.
Yep. Yep. I definitely wanted to make a difference. I've mentored a lot of people over many years. I have not charged them for it.
Hmm.
Even though the advice that I learned through a lot of hard knocks has probably cost me well over $200,000
Hmm.
out of my pocket with private lectures, seminars, traveling, courses, all of that. But you know, it's just money. If you want to make money, you just go out and make more money.
Hmm.
But the value of the knowledge has no dollar amount to it.
Hmm.
And it doesn't do any good if I keep it up here and I don't share it.
Exactly.
So my point is the more people that I can help, the better I feel. And I don't do it because of the money. I
Hmm.
mean, being a multiple business owner, I'm pretty comfortable where I'm at. And now my life has shifted more to how can I help other people get where they want to get? Because I want to take as many people on this journey as I possibly can.
Yeah.
So,
You're giving freedom. Basically, when you do that, you are giving them the keys to their life and saying, you know what? No one else is holding these keys. These are yours.
right. Yep. And when you can open up someone's mind, I mean, right now is very trying times. You know, people are losing their jobs. They're not doing that. They're not getting that weekly paycheck.
Hmm.
Well, when they talk to me, it's like, well, you know, I can't make any money. Well, do you know that you can go start an affiliate program and start selling stuff on Amazon?
Hmm.
Do you know how many cracked windshields there are in your county? You can buy a repair windshield kit for very cheap. You can go to YouTube and learn any possible thing that you could even imagine. Go start fixing windshields.
Yeah.
So let's say you can make $100 extra a week. Well, guess what? That's $400 a month.
Hmm.
Now that's not retirement money.
No, but it's
That's
enough to get you moving.
exactly. It's enough to get you moving or to maybe afford to buy a business course or to buy a faster computer or to buy a microphone or do whatever it is that you want to do. But you have to start expanding your mind and looking for opportunities, not excuses.
Mhm. When I hit bottom, the first thing I did was somebody told me a long time ago, when you hit bottom and you can't figure out where to go, you know, you have your goal up here.
Yep.
You got to start with a low hanging fruit.
Yep.
Whatever the low hanging fruit is, whether it's painting somebody's fence, whether it's cleaning somebody else's house, whatever it is, that low hanging fruit is only going to sustain you until you can climb up higher up that tree or up that ladder to get to the fruit that you want.
Yep.
You got to start somewhere.
That's exactly
Up.
right. But your mind expands as you do that. And the starting out at a lower rate, it starts to expand your mind. And being a spiritual individual, I know that we all deal with frequencies.
Mhm.
Our frequencies can travel at a very high rate of speed for a very large range.
Mhm.
So as we're progressing, you're going to find that you will actually attract people into your world that's going to help you along the way. They're not going to get there a minute too soon or a minute too late. They're going to get there when it's prime time.
Right.
And then that is how the journey starts to evolve because you will be like a magnet. You will start to pull people into your universe that are going to help you get to where it is. But you've got to be focused enough on the end result in order to know where it is that you want to end up.
Perfect. Well, we have about 2 minutes left. I was going to tell you 2 minutes.
Okay.
We had three. So you've got about
Okay.
2 minutes left. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I would say, you know, right now in the testing times, pick your head up,
Mhm.
open up your mind, get a copy of my book. You know, it's going to change and elevate your thinking, and it's going to start to send you down a different path. And that new path might be just the one that you're looking for.
Mhm.
But don't give up in these times. Create a goal, get focused on it, and do not allow anybody to pull you off track.
And don't lose hope.
And don't lose hope. No, your mistakes are going to be made. Your knockdowns are going to come by. Keep them and use them as learning experiences, not as failures. That's one of the big key things you got to understand. Failing is learning.
Mhm.
And the more you learn, the faster you'll progress.
Perfect. Love it. Well, thank you, Brian, for coming on today. Thank you for sharing your heart and your advice. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it was a rough one to share, so appreciate it.
Yep.
And For those who are interested in finding more about Brian Penso, you can find him at brianpenso.com, BRIANPENSO.com. And thank you guys for listening to The Journey is Real, where we talk to real people with real passions who share a real portion of their hearts. I'm CJ Peterson of cjpetersonwrites.com. Until next time.